Hi, it's Jasmin. You know, that girl who did you know what way before the internet ever existed. Join me and my special guest every week as we talk about anything and everything because nothing is too taboo. So punch your ticket and get on board the Krazy Train with me, Jasmin St. All aboard! Welcome to a brand new episode of Krazy Train podcast with the one and only Jasmin St. So it's always wonderful to go to things like WrestleCon, WrestleCade, but this year at WrestleCon, I ran into a lot of wrestlers who are super cool, such as like Al Snow, The Godfather, people who've been on the show before, and people who I decided to connect with in person. One of them is Brad Attitude. Like, we were friends on social media, then meeting him in person was really cool. Plus, he got me a martini at the bar. So, of course, I'm like, this is really nice. I check out his socials a little bit more, and I'd seen him before in a few indies now and again. And I realized, wow, this guy is stellar. He's got to come into the podcast because he's got a story to tell. He's been doing this since 2002. Now I see him around with Nick Nemeth. And I decided to bring him on the show and tell us about his journey into the WWE and beyond. So without further ado, let's bring on the hilarious and talented Brad Attitude. Thank you much for giving me a second chance, Brad Attitude, because I didn't think you would. The last time we tried to do this, there was like such a horrible connection on my end, but he had a pool in his background. Where were you, by the way? Is that home?
Yeah, God's country here in North Carolina. It used to be Flair's country, but he moved out back to Tampa. So this is now reclaimed as God's country. But yeah, it was a beautiful sunny day. I was out by the pool. I couldn't see you. You could see me. Today, unfortunately, there's a hurricane outside. So I've moved inside here with a little makeshift background. So yeah, unfortunately, no pool, but finally get to talk to you. So.
Yeah, this is like a little bit better than the martini at the bar at WrestleCon. By the way, what belt is that in the background?
I'm the current AML champion. I just passed a year. That is I saw you talking to WrestleCade, so these are the same guys. So WrestleCade every year, it's one of the best conventions. Them and WrestleCon, obviously, where I met you. WrestleCade every Thanksgiving weekend here in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. They run throughout the year. They run a promotion called AML, which coincidentally is when I teamed with Nick this past weekend. And so I've been the champion. Yeah, I'm. Some call me the greatest AML champion of all time. I wouldn't use those words, but some people do.
Well, with a name like Brad Attitude, I mean, come on. Of course, you're the best of the best. You're just being really humble right now and way too, like, harsh on yourself, I think. So you've been doing this since 2002. Is that about right? 2001?
I have. You've done your research. 2002. Yeah. A long time.
Well, I don't like to do too much research on my guests. I prefer to go with things organically. Like I did this once before, and then some guy like brought up something about a murder. This is like a while ago, but it's okay. Well, no, he wasn't really involved.
I'm good on that.
Okay.
So yeah, you can't find that. You can't find that on me. So
now that's amazing. You brought up WrestleCade because that was one of my favorite conventions ever. I loved it there, and I like going to. I like going out in that area as well because I love food in North Carolina. Like I love Cracker Barrel. I like all that stuff. What's your favorite cheat meal?
It's the best. Man, so I'm vegetarian. So a lot of people don't. Yeah, they see me and they don't believe that I'm 235 pounds and still haven't eaten meat in like 5 years. But there's something called Bojangles here.
I love Bojangles.
Which I think So I think California's the news came out last week or a couple of weeks ago that California it's branching, which is so funny because it's like only on the East Coast, and they're not slowly making their way across the country. They're going directly to LA. And so I think there's like 5 locations or something open in LA. So you important people in Los Angeles finally get to have your hands on a nice biscuit and understand what good breakfast is supposed to taste like.
Well,
so that's to answer your question, that's my cheat meal. Breakfast. I'm a big breakfast guy. So if I could have breakfast all day and after a show or something, if there's a place like that I can get a nice egg and cheese biscuit or something like that, it's the best hangover cure too. So I'd have to go with that for sure.
Well, wait a second. I can't see you drinking. But wait, there's Waffle House.
Mm.
Wait. Bojangles I first had in New York City because I lived there for quite some time, and that's the very first place I had it. Then I had it at the airport in North Carolina. I have to tell you,
Oh, Charlotte Airport, Bojangles hits different than every other one.
yeah, they need to hire someone else as a chef. So your cheat meal is Bojangles. That's interesting that you're a vegetarian. So how do you get most of your protein? Because you're very buff and lean. Is it the creatine? Is it plant protein?
Thank you. Yeah, it's all the above. I just recently in January got with Cesar Bononi, who's an AEW wrestler who trains a lot of guys fitness wise. He's training Eddie Kingston right now. He was training Ethan Page. I think he's got a lot of the females in AEW training with as well. And um, I finally just was like, you know what? I've done it my way for so long, and I want to get serious. I knew I had some opportunities coming up with Nick, and you can't be in the ring with Nick Nemeth and and look anything but the best. So I got with him and we got together and talked about. I told him I was a vegetarian, all these things that I eat. So to answer your question, there's a lot of plant-based substitutes now. There's fake chicken everywhere that you see. There's all sorts of beef, which I kind of stay away from the plant beef. But he introduced me to a thing called texturized vegetable protein, which it sounds terrible, but you get it on Amazon and you make it kind of in a big pot and you season it, and it's almost just like ground beef. So I eat the same meal every day, twice. I have a great breakfast. I'm actually eating more now than I was. He got me. I used to fast. I used to fast and then gorge myself, just not healthy. So he's actually got me on a program. I've been since January. Uh, probably lost 25 pounds, I would say, but also I'm stronger than I was. So yeah, I owe it all to him, and it completely changed my life and how I think about fitness. So
That's so interesting because I'm afraid to get fat and like I took creatine. It bloated me, so I had to get on diuretics. I took animal creatine too, the one that you chew. Tasted amazing, by the way, like grape chalk. Um, but then I had to go a whole thing of diuretics just to get rid of the water weight. So I guess it just puffs up the muscles, right?
I don't. I've always. I mean, I probably did creatine back in the day, and like when Mark McGuire and those guys were like, that was like the steroid of the legal steroid back in the day. I probably did it back then, but I hadn't touched it in like 15 years. And when I started with Caesar, that was the one thing that he wanted me to take. Is every day at breakfast, 10 milligrams of creatine. I took the animal. I actually take that every morning. Those they taste just like fruit punch chews. They taste amazing, and you don't even know that you're because if you just do that untasted white powder creatine, it's awful. So the fact that I can just pop a couple of those chews, it tastes like Flintstones vitamins, and it's amazing. So I actually don't know what it does to me. I know it's probably good for me if he told me to do it. So the main thing that he changed was my water intake.
Yeah.
I mean, I wasn't drinking near enough water. Um, I used to hate anything that didn't have a taste. I got addicted to seltzer water for quite some time, so I would drink your bubblies and your different things like that. But now I have this gallon jug every day, and I can't drink anything else until I finish that jug. So all of my booze, all my New Belgium products I have right here, I don't touch until I'm done with my gallon jug. So
Well, yeah, I think I can understand that. When I lived in Europe, like I lived there for quite some time, and I still go back for part of the year. So in Scandinavia, we get something called bris, which is that seltzer water you're talking about, but they put like lemongrass in it. Here's the interesting thing: every time I've had carbonated waters there, I've never been bloated. It's only in the States. And I think because we put way more sodium in it than they do over there. Because their water, you could drink out of a tap, even out of the bathroom. I know that sounds gross. Not like toilet water or anything, but just that. So your physique is amazing, by the way. And I'm not trying to be perverted or weird because I'm on a screen. I'm a female. I'm allowed to do that. You can't be to me. Uh, what got you started with wrestling and why did you pick it?
that's a great. Well, first off, you look amazing
Thank
as
you.
well. Let's pass those compliments back and forth. And I got to be honest, if 12-year-old me knew that I was on a podcast with Jasmine St. Clair, it would be unbelievable. So let's get that out of the way first.
Wait, how old
Um,
are you? You're over 18, right?
I'm very much over
Okay.
18. I grew up in the Howard Stern days, so you were a big celebrity in my household. So my dad will probably get a kick when this comes out. So I forget what the question was.
Wait,
I'm
is your
sorry.
dad single?
No, I, he isn't. He
Oh,
isn't. And
okay.
he is
Yeah. So, how did you get
he is
started with wrestling?
way too old. Pops, if you're listening, I'm talking to Jasmin St. about you, so he's gonna love that. But yeah, he turned 75 this year, so
Oh,
it's a little bit out of your range
no,
probably,
it's the perfect
but
age.
he's he's still a young buck at heart, and he loves coming to watch me wrestle and having a few drinks. And I'm taking him to Scotland for his birthday to play some golf,
Oh,
so we're gonna have a ball. But anyway, back to your question. Uh, Yeah, 2002. So I grew up, I mean, here in the Carolinas. By the way, I probably have the worst accent of anybody you've ever interviewed. People probably think I'm a moonshining hillbilly for my accent, but I can't get rid of it. Vince McMahon tried to get rid of it. I just can't get rid of it. So um, unless you've interviewed Heath, I'm probably the worst accent you have. So, uh, but other than that, grew up here in the Carolinas, NWA guy. Um Flair, I mean, it was in our blood. I just didn't know how to I didn't know that it was something you could get into. So I played sports obviously as a kid, uh, excelled at football and baseball, and I went to college in Greensboro, which is a pretty famous wrestling town. And when I was done playing those sports, I was looking around, and just so happened I saw an indie wrestling company for the first time, and I was hooked, man. I reached out to the guy almost immediately, and I was like, "Can I just do anything? Can I help set up a ring? Can I go there and just be around it? Because I certainly didn't know if I could get trained. I didn't know that was a possibility. Um, so I got with a place called CWF Mid Atlantic. I was their first trainee. After me, there was some people in WWE, Chrissy Vane, Trevor Lee, who just got released as Cameron Grimes. He came through there. So a lot of big name talent ended up coming out of there. But yeah, I just it was a dream of mine always. I didn't know it was possible, but once I got trained, it was a straight shot for me. I mean, I didn't look back, and it's something I've always wanted to do. That's why I'm still doing it now. So
isn't it crazy how this business is? It's like being in the mob. It just brings, let's say you quit for a few years, you just go right back. Like I was out of this business since 2005, 2006. Then to fast forward to 2021, April of 2021, to find myself back in it, then with deathmatch wrestling, it was like a whole other world. I'm like, holy shit, these people, like, doors are the new tables. And
oh
yeah,
yeah,
it's scary as
I I
fuck. Like getting put
I
through one
talked
of
to those
those.
guys at GCW. Yeah, I talked to the guys at GCW a lot. We still here in the Carolinas, we still use tables because we can find them at like yard sales
Yeah.
and different stuff. But no Home Depot, no store like that has them. So you've got to go to a church yard sale or go something like that and just buy them in bulk. But if you're in just a random city and you go to Home Depot, you've got to use doors because it's just a new world. It makes a better sound. It's just I hate the setup of it. I hate having to put two chairs there. I think it tells a weird story, but whatever. That's just me being. But yeah, hey, I'm glad you're back in wrestling because otherwise, if you wasn't in a WrestleCon, I wouldn't have met you.
Yeah,
So
and that was like a fun.
shout out to Sign Guy Lou.
Yeah,
Thank you for
shout out
that.
to Sign Guy and Lou because of you, I came down to the bar. If not, I was just gonna stay in my room. And thanks again, Lou, because that guy with the Cadbury Easter eggs was harassing me down. Dude, so I reposted this photo of a guy who took a photo with me, and I just reposted it, right? Lou's like, you got to take that down. I'm like, why? Well, that guy is this. The guy was jacking off under a table at a poker tournament. He was the same guy at the bar that night with me and Lou who said, like, we were talking about Cadbury Easter eggs, right? So then the guy said he likes to jerk off with Cadbury Easter eggs. So I'm like, okay, whatever. Sure, whatever. To me, that's nothing. I mean, I've heard it all. I don't really care. Uh,
Oh, I'm
yeah.
sure. I'm
I'm like,
sure.
all right, so he's a weirdo. Then I saw him at the convention. He's like, yeah, I saw you at the bar last night. I'm like, oh God, what did I do? But yeah, the same guy, he's busted at a poker tournament jacking off underneath a table. So WrestleCon attracts them all. Was that your first WrestleCon?
I've been to a
Yeah.
couple. We did Dallas. We've done a few. I've been to WrestleCade, obviously more. The thing with the bar scene there, and it also depends on the hotel. It depends, and obviously you know this because as an attractive female, you have to be even more cautious than we are. But when you're with guys like Nemeth and Matt Cardona and Myers and stuff like that, it's sometimes it's a catch 22 going down to the bar and trying to enjoy yourself because I'm there for the camaraderie. That's the one thing. If we're cooped up and I only do shows on the East Coast and I don't see my West Coast friends, WrestleCon and WrestleCade are the two places where I can see it's almost a reunion. And it's so much fun to get around the guys and girls and just have a good time and just talk the business and just have a few drinks. And there's nothing crazy going on. And it's almost our sanctuary down there at that bar. And sometimes and in this particular WrestleCon, there was a couple of just creepers that while we're in our little circle, you can just see them back there standing, waiting. And they're, I mean, I guess they're being very nice that they're sitting there waiting. But this one guy waited an hour, and I just sat there and I just kept looking at myself, like wasn't bothering anybody. Wasn't He was just standing right behind Nick, like waiting for him to turn around to take a picture. And I'm like, man, there's just, and I guess it's kind of social awkwardness or what it is. But I mean, yeah, I'm sure you've dealt with it quite a few times, especially if a guy is doing that at the bar and talking about Cadbury eggs to you when he first met you. I can't imagine some of the stuff you get dealt with. Um, with when people are, and not to mention nervous probably, and then that's the first thing that comes out of their mouth when they meet you. That's crazy.
Well, it's weird because like yesterday, I don't like Ludacris. I don't know what the hell he even looks like. Like I just know he's a dark skinned man, and that's it. And he has songs that I don't even listen to because I listen to good music just to make like real clear of that right now. Um, he's at the gym and it's like he wants people to notice him and it's like he's all standing there and someone was talking to him, a friend of mine, she was like, don't you know who that is? I'm like, no, he looks like a fucking homeless guy. I seriously don't care. It's not like he's a Loch Ness monster or something cool anyway. Then she told me it was ludicrous. I'm like, oh, whatever. um, if it was like Easy E reincarnated, that's a whole other story. Then I'd be like right over there so fast, or Dr. Dre.
There you
And I
go.
love the music he makes
Yeah.
with Nick Nemeth, by the way.
Oh yeah. I mean, that's, and we could go, I know you mentioned you wanted to go through the history and
Yeah.
stuff, but when I got released from WWE, I think our friendship got stronger after I was cut and we weren't tagging because that's when he would reach out and be like, "Hey, I'm in this town." We followed Motley Crue for quite some time. So when they were doing their residency in Vegas and their one night in hell, we went and saw them a few times. And then when they did their final tour, we we did about 8 to 10 shows on that final tour, including the last one in LA, which we really thought was going to be it. Um, we followed him quite a few times. So I mean, we're big. Obviously, you can tell by him and his gear choices and some of my designs and some of these
Yeah.
shirts, these rip off crew shirts. What are and his Wanted Man based off of a Rat song and so yeah, we love that kind of music and I think you like that music too.
Oh,
So
of course. Like, who doesn't? It's great music. It was such good music back then, and everything was so authentic and slimy and grimy and filthy to the core. It's like when you could actually do these songs and have hot chicks in videos and you wouldn't get in
oh
trouble.
yeah,
I couldn't believe that in Australia they pulled off the grid girls off of MotoGP, but you could have trans people there doing that. That's just my thing. I mean, I have a problem with that because I think girls should be there. I was an umbrella girl for quite some time when I was in Europe. And that's when the guys would come up off the track from motorcycle races, and you'd have the umbrella. I worked for was it Ducati for a little while, so you'd have like the red and white
oh
umbrella
yeah,
and little outfits. It was fun. Plus, it was like a good way to meet
yeah.
hot
Those are
guys.
the nice
Yeah,
motorcycles.
the nice
Yeah, those are the
ones,
nice
the
motorcycles there.
expensive ones, the really cute ones. Um, so with wrestling, I'm sure that you wanted to get into WWE at some point, but when you got that call, what was your initial reaction? Did you think it was a rib of some type? So, if you're looking for the safest and coolest way to bet online and the most variety, of course, of games and like almost anything you could bet on, stop by betonline.ag because I guarantee you there is something for everyone.
It's so funny you said that. So I tried, obviously we did the thing and back in 2002 to 2004, it was much harder to get in WWE as it is now. Now you can actually sign up on their website. You can go do these tryouts and it's still hard work. Don't get me wrong, but your way of being seen is a whole lot easier now than it was. So back then you had guys like JBL and Benoit and those guys, and they wouldn't even look at you unless you were 6'3", 225. And so a lot of guys, a lot of talent would get passed up just based on size. So luckily, I just hit that mark when I was like 21 or whenever it was that I got a look. But I got my first dark in like 2004, and it took me 3 years straight of just being in their face constantly. having good job matches on TV and different things like that, to where I finally got signed in 2007. And it's a sad story. A lot of people know it, but I signed my contract one day, and then my mom passed away the very next day in a car accident. So I had literally the greatest day of my life followed by the worst, and I didn't really get a chance to kind of wrap my head around anything. I jumped into WWE because it was my dream, and also because it kept me from having to think about anything else. And so I didn't really. I was kind of floundering. I didn't really have anything. I just knew I needed to live my dream, so I didn't have to think about anything going on at home. But when your question, when I got the call, I'd done a tryout and hadn't heard anything for like 2 weeks, and I just assumed like they have been and like they do, nothing to do with not your time, kid, or whatever they say when they say we can't do anything with you. And so I called John Laurinaitis' office at the time and got his little right hand man or whoever it was. And no, nothing like that. I guess I hear you smirking already. No, I didn't make that call. Um, but yeah, I called and I was like, hey, I had a tryout. I was just looking for feedback, whether or not. And they were like, oh yeah, we want to sign you. And I was like, wait a second. It's like my jaw dropped and different things. So I was like, wait, what happened? What would happen if I didn't
Yeah.
call you? Like, would you just have, would it been another piece of paper that gets lost in the shuffle? It was just unbelievable. And the communication got much worse and stuff when we were in FCW and developmental and things like that. But yeah, then unfortunately, I only had about 24 hours to really enjoy it, before obviously my world crumbled. Um, but yeah, it was kind of a rib, and certainly wasn't expecting it, but I did work my ass off to get there, and unfortunately, I don't know that I was able to give it my all, or do everything just based on circumstances. But I'm not a big regrets guy, so everything I did put me in the right spot. I got a great friend out of it, obviously, in Nick, um, and met a lot of awesome people there, and like we talked about before, at every WrestleCon and WrestleCade, we have a mini little FCW reunion every time, and it's considered one of the coolest, most fun developmentals. So I'm glad I got to be a part of that.
Yeah, I think those developmentals are really nice. It's a very bonding experience. I was working in Memphis briefly with Jerry Lawler because at the time I went to ECW, then I was in XPW, then I quit. And then I just started training with this glow girl, but because of my size, I'm always going to be a manager, and that's totally fine. I prefer that role instead, right, than going in and like doing the whole thing with the matches, but I get the psychology. But the developmentals were so cool because I worked with Steve Regal, I worked with Ron Killings, I worked with who else? Bull Payne, and he used to suplex me off the top rope. And like you don't really think about it like then, but now you look back at this stuff, you're like, wow, like so many things could have gone wrong just with that one move. You really have to trust people, you know? So it's a tough thing.
That's what it's all about. Yeah, I just saw you just reposted something recently of Rhino giving you a
Oh
pile
yeah.
driver off the middle. So you've been taking those crazy bumps always.
Yeah, like I would totally. He's the only person I would let do that to me off a top rope. Like I would never let anyone else do that. You want to push me into a door, fine, because those doors they crack like that. They're cheap $10 doors from Lowe's. But that's like a move
Yeah.
only
Oh
he
yeah.
could trust Rhino with. And I,
Yeah. You're a deathmatch wrestler now. You and Necro's taught you the way of the deathmatch.
well,
So
yeah, I mean, I've gotten glass in my skin, my hair, but Necro's still in Japan in the hospital, so I don't think he'll be. I don't think I'll be working with him again anytime soon in that capacity. So I'm working with Pondo, with Madman Pondo, but the less I have to be around,
hey, he's another legend.
I know it's really
I
weird.
said he's another legend in deathmatch wrestling. Yeah, those two definitely set the standard for what guys in GCW are now following.
Yeah, Necro, I don't think he's it's going to be a weird thing. And Nick Nemeth is definitely one of the nicest people in wrestling. I don't know if he's ever met Necro Butcher, but for him to help us with the GoFundMe with those hospital bills, and guys listening, just go to the GoFundMe for Necro Butcher that I've set up
Yeah,
because the bills are
please.
piling fucking high in Japan, and I just don't know when he's going to be back. And the more people could stop talking wrestling to him, is the better the psyches will be because he loves baseball too and cats. I found out. I think he wants to like take my little black cat from me. So I don't think I'll ever invite him to my house. By the way, do you have any cats?
I do.
How
I have
many?
two cats. I had to close my door they don't bother me during this podcast. But we also foster cats too. So
Okay.
saving animals is a big thing to us. So before my show, I had a show last Sunday, and then last Saturday I did an event at the animal shelter right up the road from where the show was, trying to do both things where I was promoting the show, but also trying to save cats and dogs. So we were able to get. There was one dog in particular that I fell in love with, and he had an end date of that Wednesday. So unfortunately, the shelter had done all they could, but they were going to have to euthanize a perfectly healthy dog, which is like my biggest thing. It drives me nuts. Bad parenting and bad pet ownership and different things like that. That's one of my pet peeves. So, but we were able to get him adopted and save his life, and that was like the coolest thing I did that Saturday. So.
Now, cats are allowed on the podcast, by the way. I think mine jumped up like once and only once, or he was doing something because he gets a little bit antsy at times. I think that's great that you do that because not too many people I know in this business do those types of things. Now, if you did not get that call from WWE, what do you think you would have done with your life? Would you have kept going? Would you have gone to a different developmental, perhaps, like OVW?
Uh, that's a great question. So OVW shut down about middle of when I was in FCW. I mean, I would have kept trying with WWE, I guess, because at that point, I mean, yeah, TNA was around, ROH was around. The problem that when I ended up getting released, there weren't the options that there are right now. So guys now that even if they were only in developmental, if you're in NXT right now, that's just as much publicity as if you're with any like more people see NXT than they do ROH or that they do TNA or anything like that. So you almost have a bigger name coming off of that to overcharge on the indies and stuff like that I see people do nowadays. So I like to say that I'm successful in any business that I've done. So I would have found a way no matter what. But it certainly was a different time in that it was so hard to get noticed. It was so hard to just be right on that 6'3", 225 barrier. And then if I would have came 5 or 10 years later when they were signing guys like Bryan and Punk, it might have been a different story. But they were certainly not liking indie guys back when I was getting signed. But before I stop, you did mention something about Nick, and I know he's going to hate me saying this because he hates when I put him over. He hates when I put him over publicly. He hates taking credit like that. He does a lot of stuff anonymously. But the fact that you mentioned him donating to Necro, he does that kind of stuff all the time. And a lot of guys, we were at our indie show on Sunday, and the amount of guys that came up to him to thank him because he bought merch from them during COVID on Pro Wrestling Tees and did it. I thought he did it anonymously, but it might have said his name or something. So all those guys knew it and came up and thanked him, but he doesn't think anything of it. But the times where he donates and does different things, and just this past Sunday, he donated his entire post show meet and greet to a company locally here called Purple Heart Homes, which donates to veterans. He's really big with Wounded
Yeah.
Warriors. So I don't want to take this
No,
entire
it's okay.
podcast to put him over because he's gonna hate that. Um, but yeah, to your point, he's a great guy, and yeah, I mean, especially for Necro, I can assume that he's never met him, but just the same with like him and Jericho and guys like that see those GoFundMe's and know if he's a brother or sister in the business, they need help. Some people that are more fortunate are the ones that giving them help, and so I thank all the guys that do that.
Yeah, that's a really big deal. And it's sad because he's someone that's been in the business for a long time. And not to take over the podcast with Necro, but like he had cancer. The first day I met him when I worked at XPW, when they came back, I knew who he was, but I was scared of him because I remember seeing the wrestler and he was
Oh
really
yeah,
nice. So it's just like, since I started working with him for 2.5 years, it's been a wonderful 2.5 years of doing our gimmick, which was supposed to be like complete heat, but it didn't get heat.
yeah,
It was one of the best things there. But I'm grateful for the time with him. He got me to Japan. I worked in Japan. I could say that. I met Pondo. And you know what? It's okay because there are not too many managers in deathmatch wrestling. So I'll find, and like my ass will find a seat somewhere. Maybe not right away because I still have the stigma of, of that company on my back. So I got to give it a few months, but I don't care. I'm still going to go work. It's a weird love we have for the business, right? Like, could you ever see yourself doing anything else aside from
absolutely.
rescuing animals? what else would you do with your life if you didn't have wrestling?
Oh, I mean, I've done all sorts of stuff. I've ran bars.
Okay.
I've cut down trees for a living. I've done some crazy jobs. But yeah, wrestling's obviously my number one passion. And yeah, to your point, Necro is. And I remember the first time I ever met him, and he just came up, the nicest guy, and just said, "Hey, my name's Dylan." And I was like, "Wait, I know who you are, and you're in a white beater and cut off jean shorts, walking barefoot in a disgusting locker room." And I was just like, to your point, I'm a big guy, and I was afraid of him. I mean, he's. I saw the wrestler. I saw how many times he's staple gunned his head. And but to your point, one of the biggest differences that you see character to person, it's probably Necro Butch.
Yeah, I mean, because I've traveled with him. I met his girlfriend in Japan. I know her. Like, I know it's so weird because all of a sudden it's like I'm finding ways for him to monetize. Like, I've handled the business for him basically now when we do signings. It's funny seeing him sitting there. Well, how much? Oh, ask her. She's controlling the money. And it's just, I'm the one taking the money. So now I have this brilliant idea. And hopefully WrestleCade gets on board with this. I have this brilliant idea of them to show the movie The Wrestler, right? Then right after that, have a Q&A with Necro Butcher. I think so many people would have questions. And I've set it up at a few theaters in LA now where we're talking to Mickey Rourke to see if he wants to come in and do like a Q&A with Necro after. But I think it would be amazing because Necro is one of those guys you don't meet. People were shocked to see him at WrestleCon. It was so funny. But yeah, that's what I totally wanted. So hopefully whoever is like at WrestleCade, if you're listening, if you can get a hold of me, we would love to put Necro Butcher there and have the movie and have a great Q&A session with him because he's a man of many words at times. He really is. So how did you, like, what was your initial thought on working with Nick Nemeth? I see you guys tag teaming together on a lot of indies, and I think you guys are great. You're amazing. I think you guys have a great tag team look, and your work is very, it's clean. I'm used to seeing a lot of backyard
Yeah,
wrestlers,
well,
so.
so so yeah, we pride ourselves, especially with the matching look and the crew logos and just being different. And he certainly doesn't need to be in a tag team. He's one of the greatest wrestlers that's laced a pair of boots in our
Yep.
generation for sure. And so when we got put together, um, I'll never forget we were wrestling, and I was probably 2 or 3 months in, and I was doing a character called the Campus Legend, where I wore a beer helmet and a frat boy visor and had spiky hair and just a pure asshole heel. Um, and Dr. Tom came after a show and brought us both in the office and said we need to talk to both of you. And I'll never forget. Me and Nick were, I mean, we were cordial, but we certainly weren't like best friends or anything like that. I'd only been down there for a couple months. And he goes, "Did we get suspended? What did you do? What did you do wrong?" We thought we were in trouble. And so we get in the office, and Dr. Tom said the office wants to see you two together. And so I don't know who it was that made that decision. It forever changed my life. But that started, and you got to understand, Nick had been, I mean, he had already been on TV twice. He had been the caddy for Chavo, and then he'd been in Spirit Squad, which was
Hmm.
uh, I mean, say what you want about it, but they had a year run where they were at the top of every card, working guys like Flair, Hunter, Sean. I mean, they were the top heels in the company for a year. And so the fact that he even listened to The Office and wanted to team with me, who I had nothing really to offer, I'd just gotten there, um, and he let me kind of sponge off of him. Turns out I ended up being the worker of the group, and he was the gimmick. But it was a blessing to hear people say that I was the worker in a tag team where I was with one of the best workers that was there. So of course they made me bleach my hair. They certainly wasn't gonna make him look like me. So I bleached my hair, and then yeah, we had a successful run there. I wasn't obviously under contract for very long, but we won the tag titles there a couple of times, and um, I just think it was just bad timing, maybe, or but they ended up putting Taryn Terrell with us, which she was great, and we were all three blonde. I was the campus legend. Nick was a star at Kent State, and he had the national record for wins at one time in college. And then Taryn was a Playboy cover girl on college Playboy College Girls or something like that. So she was on the cover of that. So I kind of intertwined it to where we were all three college legends, even though mine was completely fake. So we had a great gimmick. People loved to hate us down there, and I think it was just bad timing to where Nick's obviously very talented on his own. They wanted him to do something. They wanted Taryn. I think she became the general manager of ECW or something. And then I was just left there. And I think it was just you can't make money for you now, so we'll get rid of you type thing. But like I said, we kept becoming friends. He was one of the ones, which, Jasmine, you know this, very cutthroat business that we're in, to where I could be a part of the team one day, and then the day I'm cut, all of a sudden people forget your number. You find out who was your acquaintance and who was your friend. And Nick, thankfully, was a very good friend, one of my closest friends now. And in the last 15 years, since we've teamed, obviously I couldn't team with him while I was in WWE. So now we're kind of making up for lost time. But we definitely got closer. We started chasing Motley Crue, going to concerts. And that's when the real us showed, because we could only do so much in front of cameras for WWE. But now at the WrestleCon bar, WrestleCade bar, that's when you see the real Brad Nick. So
Yeah, he was funny that night because his brother did a lot for me. Because I don't think if his brother didn't have me host their improv team that night for Flying Chucks, I never would have thought of going to Second City once I got out of UCB. Then I went as far as their conservatory and then the grad review. Then I had a one-woman show. So, which I should get back on the road. I've got to like start thinking again and like get back in that mode. Like COVID really took down so many things for a lot of
oh
people.
yeah.
What did you do in COVID to stay sane?
Well, first off, shout out Ryan Nemeth.
Yeah, Ryan's great.
Great. I mean, the Hollywood Hunk, great comedy. I'm doing Hunkamania. I forget what the date is. Maybe May 24th. Whatever the Friday is of Double or Nothing weekend, Memorial Day weekend. Las Vegas, the Nerd Bar, Fremont Street. If this comes out before that, please come. But that's Hunkamania is always a great time where it's pro wrestlers doing comedy. The Nemeth guys, obviously Ryan and Nick, are super funny. They allow me to go on stage for 5 or 6 minutes and make fun of them and tell jokes and get some pops. But especially in Vegas, which is our home away from home, that'll be a great time. So shout out Ryan on that. And then man, COVID was, for me, it let life slow down. Um, like everybody, there was no live sports, there was no live anything. So I was able to like relive my youth almost, and I would go on YouTube and like and all these channels were playing like old NBA basketball games from the 1990s. And so the fact that there were no live sports on, you almost got to, life goes by so fast. And I feel like, especially at this age, like when I was a kid, I couldn't wait to grow up, and now I'm like, holy shit, slow down. But COVID gave me a chance to, yeah, I mean, obviously you were kind of quarantined away from everybody, but gave you a chance to watch different things and relive whether old wrestling, old sports, and yeah, just kind of slow your life down and live it one day at a time.
See, I like the pandemic because I went riding. I took my motorcycle out up the coast. I was able to speed. I was able to
Yeah.
lane split. I was able to just cut people off because there weren't that many people. It was so much fun. And then when things started coming back, there were people out. I'm like, fuck, why can't you assholes just stay home with your masks on and be a bunch of fuckwads? Like, why do you have to come out and ruin the streets now? Now it's like everyone's out. It's just go, just stay home. Don't come out.
And I'm a big Raiders fan, so I have season tickets in Vegas, and that was supposed to be our first
Oh,
year to be in the stadium. And right before, I knew we wouldn't be able to go to the games because they thankfully Vegas said that no fans were going to be in the city at all, because they wanted to wait until the next year to open it and let us have a full crowd, which thankfully they did because we could actually like open our stadium correctly. But I'll never forget, I was supposed to still go to the opening weekend and just be in Vegas while the game was going on. And I did one indie show with Luke Gallows when he was running a promotion down in Georgia. And I go do one show, and everybody's still wearing masks and being protective and stuff like that. But the way they do it in Georgia, they just didn't care. So I came back and got COVID 3 days later. It was the first time, and I couldn't go to Vegas, and I was heartbroken. So that was like the only time that I got it, and I actually like, because they wouldn't let you like fly, they wouldn't let me stay in that hotel, and so my Vegas trip was canceled all because of an indie show. So I did do another indie show for about 6 months after that.
yeah, I didn't. Did I ever? I think I had it once, and it's right when it first hit. I was on my ass for like 2 days. The third day I was out and about, running, jogging, and just living my best life. Like I think I'd had a much higher chance of contracting an STD than getting COVID during the pandemic. You know? Did I? Did
Well,
I
good for
sound
you.
horrible?
You were living your you were living your
Oh
best
heck
life
yeah,
then.
yeah. Like the beach, they had this like fence up so you couldn't go down. So I just, I went back. I climbed over the fence because I grew up doing like tomboy things too. I'm like, fuck this. I'm going and I'm gonna go walk on the beach, and that's it. Like no one's gonna stop me from this. So I just walked. I was doing the steps in Santa Monica. Um, I was just waiting to get back out and like have intercourse with the world again because I can't stay in one place for too long. I get really bored. That's one thing I like about wrestling was just all the good buffets like Ponderosa's, Shoney's, Perkins, and all of that. Cracker
Sho-
Barrel, right?
Shoney's.
Yeah, there's still Shoney's.
Shoney's. I miss Shoney's. I don't know if there's any around here,
Oh,
but that used to be. If you could time it right and get a couple of breakfasts, and then when it changed over to dinner, you would get a dinner and then head out. I mean, what a good time Shoney's was. But
yeah, and the Shoney.
yeah, Cracker Barrel's still a great staple at really any town that you go to make for wrestling. Cracker Barrels, you can always get some solid stuff there, and you can play old people chess out front on your little rocking chair and stuff. So
Yeah, that's like the fun part of it. Even if you can't play chess, you could pretend or do checkers or something really cool.
yeah,
So
it's a good photo. It's a good
I
photo op.
might come. I might try to make it out for your show with the Nerd Bar. I've never been there, but I know a lot of like Willie Mack hangs out there. A lot of people hang out there, and yeah, this is like what he said is true. This is a very cutthroat business. Like you could count your friends on one hand in this business. I could say still to this day, Missy Hyatt is one of my best friends. Even though I did like the biggest rib on her that I don't know if she got me back yet, but having her drive from Tampa to Fort Lauderdale, telling her there was a show when there was no show there.
That's brutal.
Well, she
What was the payoff? Just seeing her on the side of the road
wasn't
calling
even
you.
in the same state. No, she showed up to work with me somewhere else and she was fucked up. It's when she was doing some things she shouldn't have been doing and I got pissed off. But then she gave my phone number to Gene Simmons. And that stalking lasted till like 4 in the fucking morning. And I just have no interest in some like old Jewish guy with a toupee that looks like a beaver tail for reals and like acne. So yeah, but I'm a this
No,
man.
he's no Lemmy. He's no Lemmy. That's for
He's
sure.
what?
I said he's no Lemmy. That's for
Lemmy.
sure.
Well, Lemmy wasn't trying to screw me. I was dating him. Plus, when you do that much cocaine, your dick's not getting up. Seriously. But Lemmy was more interesting of a person. That's funny you brought him up. How did you know about that?
With you told me you dated him, and then it like blew my mind because me and Nick love Lemmy. I mean, that's it's we just listened to like an entire album Sunday after the show. It was insane. But yeah, he's I've watched that documentary 1,000 times. I think he's one of the most interesting. Just I mean, the amount of people who put him on a pedestal and like even people that aren't rock fans still. I mean, he's just the greatest guy.
Yeah,
RIP. I thank God I got to see him right before, like 3 months before he passed away. I went to a concert and had to jump through a lot of hoops to get there, but I knew, man, I might not be able to do this again, and thank goodness I did. So
yeah. I mean, I stayed friends with him like after like I was off doing my own thing. Like in the 90s, late 90s, we still remained friends until he passed. Like when I was living overseas, I'd go to shows, I'd hang out with him still. In fact, I have one of his hats and I still have a whole case of his pins and some of those movies, those World War II memorabilia movies. They're not Nazi movies.
oh
So I
yeah,
have a bunch of those. I just
yeah.
don't like. I don't really display it because people might think I'm a Nazi or something. But I get called that anyway.
It's well, they thought that about him with the Iron Cross. They thought that about him with all of the stuff that he wore. You just can't be a big fan of, and it wasn't like he was a big fan of Hitler. He was a fan of history, and knew that. But coincidentally, he passed away 3 or 4 days before me and Nick went out to LA for Motley Crue's final show at Staples. And so we were actually able to go to the Mega Touch at the Rainbow and do one last toast for Lemmy, which now the Rainbow has an awesome
Yeah.
statue of him. I'm sure you've been there, and they've got an entire thing dedicated to him, which we were able to go see when WrestleMania was there last year. But yeah, cheers to Lemmy. What a stud, that's for sure.
Yeah, for sure. And one of the most interesting people to have ever walked the face of the earth. And I was there for the unveiling of the statue. It was such mayhem. I could only imagine how much Jack and Coke they sold that one day. What's your favorite alcoholic beverage? Want to spice things up in the bedroom? Go to adamandeve.com. And if you'd like to get 50% off of certain items and 10 free gifts, use the code Krazy Train. Crazy with a K. Go to adamandeve.com and spice things up in the bedroom. And don't forget to use the code Krazy Train.
Well, right
You
now,
drink
since my friends at New Belgium, yeah, my friends at New Belgium, I'm the only New Belgium sponsored Voodoo Ranger pro wrestler. So I get all this awesome swag and get this stuff. So they're the number one craft in the nation, and I like drinking their IPAs. Right now, I've got their hard charge
Let's see it.
tea. That's more of my. This is look at that sweet
That looks
can.
like my
Where's that
card
camera at? There
lemonade.
we go.
Oh,
Look
but
at
that
that
is
guy.
cool. I want some of that.
And so I've got wrestling gear of that guy and me, and so they've helped me make wrestling gear and stuff like that. They've been awesome partners with me, and so yeah, I love beer. If it's not a craft, if it's not New Belgium, it's like a Coors Light or something like that. Especially, I think that's what I had at WrestleCon, just probably 1,000 of them, while you were having martinis and all the all the prim and proper drinks. We were we were drinking Fireball with Francine and having a bunch of beers over there at the table. So,
Fireballs, that's what fucking
but I
mullets
but
drink. That's a mullet drink. Mullets
yeah,
drink Fireball. Did you have a mullet at one point? I know you had braids,
uh,
right?
I did not. I would like to if I could pull that off. But no, I'm a fan of anything. I'm a fan of social anything like that. If it's summer and people are drinking seltzer, I'll drink one by the pool or um, yeah, we drank Motorhead whiskey on Sunday night after the show to Lemmy. So I had an unopened bottle. I was waiting for a special occasion, and me and Nick teaming again for the first time in a long time was a good special occasion. So we cracked one in the locker room and had a toast to Lemmy.
Well, I think you guys make a magnificent tag team, and I love some of the stuff you're doing. And I really hope it. I mean, Nick is just a wonderful human being, and I'm glad that he's doing this with you. What do you see? Like, what's the future of it? Do you think? And what appearances do you have coming up?
Who knows? Great question. We're gonna do some stuff throughout the year for sure, especially here in North Carolina. Hopefully at WrestleCade. We'll do the Nerd Bar, obviously comedy, but I mean, the wanted man is not a gimmick to him. I mean, he is absolutely wanted by every. He's in Japan right now. He wrestled. He wrestled in Mexico and won the AAA title, and then flew overnight to come wrestle with me in North Carolina, and then immediately flew to Tokyo. So a lot of people don't do a Mexico, North Carolina, Tokyo loop, but he does because he's that wanted right now, and I hope he takes advantage of it. I hope while the getting's good, as they say, he makes as much money as he can. And anytime that there's the ability, or maybe who knows, maybe those assholes at TNA keep beating him down, and he needs some backup, and then here I come. But uh, you never know. I mean, I'll always support him, whether we're tagging or not. And yeah, hopefully there's more opportunities in the future because we got some sweet ass gear, and I would hate to only use it a few times.
Yeah, I hope you guys use it a lot as well. And hopefully you guys get a really strong faction going to take on whoever comes after you. Because that's what it's about. I see like more factions being made in wrestling. It's weird being a part of a faction because here's the problem, I think. You have the wrestler, you have the manager, then you have whatever these two other parts of your faction are. But then they're so busy trying to put themselves over. And that's the danger of it, I think. You don't want to work with people who are working to get themselves over so hard that it takes away from what's going on in there. Does that make any sense?
Sure, sure, yeah. And I wouldn't tag with Nick if it took anything away from him and what he was
Yeah.
doing singles wise. I wouldn't want to do anything like that. And I'm not one for like forced together teams like
Hmm.
they used to do in WWE all the time. We're best friends
Yeah.
whether we're a tag team or not. So we could be in the same company and still have fun. It doesn't we don't have to be on screen or I don't have to piggyback off of his success or anything like that. It's just this is a natural tag team that happens no matter what. So yeah, if there's opportunities like that, that's cool. But if not, I mean, he's one of the best wrestlers in the world. So IWGP Global Champion, AAA Mega Champion. I can't imagine as long as he don't try to come take
Hey,
this. Um, I'm good with it. So
that'll be a good one. Maybe I don't know. Well,
No,
well,
it
as
needs to
long as
stay.
you got to walk away with it though. We just that's like just me.
It needs to stay the hell away from that
Okay.
one. That's the only one. But no, no, no. I'm just kidding. No, it would be really cool, and who knows, that might be up my sleeve sometime. But
Yeah, one of these days. But if people want to like see your photos, and no, he doesn't go posting crazy cat photos like some of us do, um, like AI cat photos,
I love cat photos though. I love when Jasmine posts cat
pussy pics.
photos. Um, yeah. Oh man, I'm not gonna touch that one. That's a good one though. But no, I love those. I half my Instagram follows are probably those crazy cat videos that just if you're having a bad day, man, you watch one of those where a cat's just purring or jumping and knocking stuff over, and yeah, it helps calm me down and get me back to real life is watching those cats and doing stuff. But yeah, you can follow me on Instagram. It's Brad Attitude. Twitter and Facebook, Brad Attitude. Um, and that's pretty much it. I don't have a TikTok. Unfortunately, I don't have an OnlyFans, guys. If this interview generates enough interest, maybe we'll do a kayfabe one or something like that.
Yeah, I think that's like he didn't become an OnlyFans wrestler. I see like way too many girls. It's fine if you are someone, then you do your OnlyFans, but so many girls come out of OnlyFans than wrestling. It's just I can't grasp the concept. I like the girl. I like Katie Forbes has her OnlyFans. She's amazing though, but just some of these people, man, like at WrestleCon, I think I've like seen it all since that one. Um, but yeah, hopefully they do it in Vegas next year.
Yeah.
That'll be fun, and then there'll be probably lots of parties at the Nerd Bar. What are your upcoming
Uh,
appearances if people want to see you live?
yeah. So that I forget what that date was, but whatever the Friday is of Double or Nothing at Nerd Bar. That Sunday, I'm leaving to Vegas right then. That Sunday, we're back here in North Carolina for AML Wrestling. And then we'll have some June and July. I know at the end of June we'll do something, and then um, some stuff at AML. But yeah, follow me on all my socials. I don't know anything right offhand because my phone's being used for this, so that's got my calendar on it, and I'm lost without it. So,
You got to have a paper
but
calendar.
yeah, I'm taking.
Get a paper calendar,
Yeah,
bro. Come on.
well, Jasmine, if you wouldn't send me one of those Jasmine St. Clair calendars that I've heard so much about, maybe I can write my dates on
Well, there's a problem with them. They're from last year, and I didn't realize that, and I was mailing them out to people. So I'm gonna have them.
Oh yeah, I can't. I gotta have an up to date. Yeah, I can't be doing backwards days for last year for 2023.
Yeah, like I think that's why people wanted their money back or something. But that's a very Jasmine thing to do. So and real one last question: did you ever have a rib played on you?
A rib plate. I mean, I've had a lot, the ones that I can remember, but probably the funniest one in the fact that it was in WWE, uh, especially FCW. It's at early stages. We would wrestle in the weirdest places, so they were just trying to get us work wherever we could get. So we would do every Tuesday night at this place called Bourbon Street, and it was like a smoke-filled bar, and I loved it obviously because I was from the Indies, but you would see like Johnny Ace and Cena and people like that come to it and be like, how are world class athletes supposed to thrive here in this place? So we wrestled in like flea markets. I'll never forget. We did a show. Me and Nick tagged at a flea market. We went through the flea market looking for crappy merch to wear to the ring, and we went and found like the trashiest T-shirts. And mine said 49% bitch, 51% queen, don't push me, or something like that. And he was wearing a pink one that said like sassy, one of those like Southern sass, just the craziest redneck T-shirts in the world. But one of my favorite ribs was we wrestled at a Harley Davidson parking lot somewhere in
Oh,
some town in Florida, and me and Nick were wrestling for the titles, and we were supposed to lose. Spoiler alert that this stuff is planned. Um, but something happened, and Dr. Tom and Steve Kern ribbed me by putting us over for the titles without me knowing. I think everybody else in the ring knew. So it wasn't a rib that hurt me. It was a rib that actually helped me. But yeah, I took a finish and laid there, and then somebody came in. I think Drew McIntyre hit somebody with a flag, rolled my hand over, and I was like, "Holy shit, what's going on?" And I look up, and Steve and Dr. Tom are just laughing over there by Harley's, like going crazy. Thought they put one over on me, but in reality, they just gave me the belt again. So it was awesome. Turns out when I got to the back, Dr. Tom stole my belt and held it captive for like 2 weeks. So Dr. Tom is the biggest ribber, even when he's working for WWE. the biggest ribber, but one of the funniest. Probably my best trainer I've ever had. So shout out Dr. Tom for sure. So
I'm gonna like measure that in the rib scale. I'm trying to up the rib I did. I don't know to who though.
yeah, I was gonna say, does it touch
Really?
sending somebody to a fake town and a fake city like you did? I can't imagine. Did you at least have a flyer for the show? What was Missy basing this off of? That she went to a town without knowing there was a show.
Because I told her. She was. Don't forget, I ran a promotion, 3PW Wrestling, and I
Got
brought
you.
her in for a
Okay.
lot of shows. I met
So
her in XPW and I was enamored by her because I knew who she was. Plus, she also rode motorcycles too. So, of course, I adored her. And then when she started working for me, I think she was going through something in her life. There might have been some demons involved, but there are a few ribs with her. One where I pranked the Iron Sheik as her, saying I wanted him and all this stuff, and he was harassing her at a convention. So that was nothing. Then that one because she showed up to an evening gown match or a pasties and panties match, and she was like, I'm like, dude, you have to move, like just go, like roll, just keep rolling, okay, what, like she wouldn't. I got so pissed, but I still brought her in after that to work because I wanted her to work and I wanted her to, to
sure.
do something because she's talented and I have a lot of respect for her. But I ribbed her, yeah. But is it the worst one? I don't know, but I won't rib her anymore. I promise. If I do, it'll be like a really gentle one, like I don't know, like I don't know, send like a male stripper out of her
I,
cake.
yeah, you can do something at least in like WrestleCon and WrestleCade and have some fun with
Oh,
it for
you
sure.
want to
Send a
be
fan
there?
over her way or something like
Send her
that.
pizza. You want to be there to see the
Yeah.
whole thing. Yeah, me and Lou were talking about that. Me and Sign Guy Dudley. We were going to start sending pizzas to people's tables at WrestleCon. We didn't do it though. I'm like, who do we do it to? Like, who do we do it to? Like, who do we know that we could just watch from afar? But I didn't want to like get like rib Todd Gordon or anyone like that. Um, but
You could send a male stripper to her table. We could probably get Nick to do it if we have a few sodas late
really,
night. Convince him to go over there. I was just wondering how she did you send her an address and just tell her that there was a show at
yeah,
this building and
because
that's where
there
she
were
went?
shows
Okay.
there. Right.
Okay.
Yeah,
That
there
makes
were
sense.
shows there in Fort Lauderdale. I don't know if it was Ron Nemi that used to run, just someone I knew the building. And then I
I love Ron
yeah, I
Amy, by
love
the way.
Ron a lot. I forgot that I was like using his boys from Florida on my shows years ago. I totally forgot. Like they'd fly themselves up, they'd work my show. I'd at least pay for a hotel for them because it was just, they were up and coming. I didn't know them, but it was just the right thing to do for people out of town. And I totally forgot. So
Yeah.
when this whole dilemma hit me like a month ago, he's been trying to help me, and he doesn't have to do that. He's just a good person. He's talented, and he knows how to drink. Um, I think a lot of people do in wrestling. But yes, I'm going to hold you guys to that. So I'm holding you to the whole male stripper thing for someone at one of these shows, okay? You have to wear a
Yeah.
wig or like
Yeah.
something fake boobs, you're going to do it. With that said, make sure to check out his socials. And he does not have an OnlyFans. So it's Brad Attitude, and it's on Twitter. There's Instagram. There's Facebook. We will tag you and everything. And do you have any parting words for the fans?
Well, thank you, Jasmine. First off, this is awesome. I'm glad we became friends. Thank you, Sign Guy, for the introduction. Thank you to the weird guy at the bar that was being a huge perv to you. I hope he didn't buy you one of those
No.
martinis because who knows what was in those olives if that was from him. But yeah, I'm considered the 1 star professional wrestling. Every match I've ever had is a 1 star match, and I'm that 1 star. I hate 5 star ratings. I hate the shit that Meltzer put. I hate online people. We can do a whole other podcast on what I don't like about pro wrestling. Um, but I love the business. I love the camaraderie of the boys and girls, and I'm looking forward to seeing everybody at these shows, especially WrestleCon, WrestleCade. I'll see you again. But yeah, don't put all your worth on what somebody says that's a 5 star match because he doesn't know shit. So wrestling is whatever you make it, and it's all about having fun with the boys and girls
18 and over, of course.
and having a few drinks
18 and
afterwards.
over, though.
And having a few drinks afterwards to
Well,
celebrate. Yeah,
21
yeah,
and
yeah, yeah,
over
for
for
sure.
that. Okay, good. I just don't want any legal
Yeah,
liability.
of course. Yeah. Yeah. Hey, I'm a responsible advertiser. So yes, 21 and over
And
for
can you
sure.
flash us your
And
drink again
and
really quick, please?
Absolutely. New Belgium Voodoo Ranger hard charge
Bring
tea.
it over.
Tastes just like tea. So dangerous.
Okay. So yeah, I'm gonna have to hit them up because I want to try some of this stuff.
And they're in all my socials too. So you'll see all their brands.
Okay. Well, that,
They're big in Vegas too. We'll have one at the Nerd Bar if you're there.
yeah, I'll have to eat before I do that this time. I think that's why the martinis hit me a little harder. I did have a Cadbury Easter egg earlier that day because it was like Easterish time.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Now that's what's called a callback in the comedy
Yes.
world, guys. I hope you caught that from that was good.
Yeah,
You're
you see,
good.
I'm telling you. So don't forget May 24th at the Nerd Bar in Las Vegas, and we will see you on the road. Thank you so much for joining us, and keep up the great work in and out of the ring.
Thank you so much, Jasmine. I appreciate the opportunity.